Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful Monday evening for another and probably our final Monday Madness for this season. What a glorious season it has wound out to be, and very unexpected tournament that we've had. But hey, that's what makes it March. That's what makes it madness, is having the surprises and the insane stuff that happens and the stuff that you don't ever suspect to happen. That's why they call it March Madness. And let me bring in the guru of Pokemon and basketball and XFL football himself, the great Woopah Troopah. Woopah, how are you tonight?
Hello, I'm doing well. Excited to talk about the national championship.
Yes, absolutely. And it's tonight.
Oh yeah,
That's yeah, yeah. But because that's the one thing with these games, these national championship, uh, is it's at 9:20 tonight. You know, isn't it funny how they always do stuff like that?
it's a little later than I think I would prefer, but
Yes, exactly. And I like the way they do 9:20. That's what's so funny. Uh, but it's never done. For anybody's convenience.
yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose is of them doing it at that time, really. But
Well, I guess the West Coast it gets it. I guess the West Coast gets it at. It'll be 6 o'clock for them. It will be. They can't go seven because then again it would be 10 o'clock. And you just can't. That's just. I think too late for anybody on the East Coast to start because even if you talk about a 2.5 hour game, that puts it past midnight. So that's what that's always been the biggest debate in sports is when do you go live? When do you start the game? For people's bedtimes and stuff like that.
yeah, I'm gonna say because this is gonna be that's pretty late for West Coast or not East Coast. It's not
Yeah.
late for the West Coast, but it's late for the East Coast, and they each have a team in this. So
hmm it is very interesting, and let's before we go too far into things, let's go ahead and say hello to a few people in the chat. Then Rupa, let's take a little look back and kind of make some observations on what some general thoughts about what's transpired so far, shall we? Let's say hello to the great Castle. Howdy, Castle. Welcome. Glad you're here. With whatever you got going on, homework or whatever else, glad you're here as always. Thank you for being here, friend. And the great Daisy Blossom Flower Child. Hello, my friend. Welcome. Always lovely and a pleasure to see you, my friend. And the great Mrs. Dadman Walkie 55. Yes, my love. Welcome. Thank you. Absolutely. Wouldn't be here without her. So, and Daisy says hello to the missus. So, hey, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Castle, Mrs. Daisy Blossoms, thank y'all for being here. There's probably a couple people also lurking. We got 5 people watching us. So make sure, as always, if you're on Twitch, leave us a follow over there. We're at 79 there. And, like and subscribe on here on the YouTube side. And we are only 9 away from 200, Whoopa. Woohoo!
oh yeah, we're getting there.
I'm saying, tell everybody, bring your dogs, cats. Somebody said round up drunks off the street if you had to. So, but 9 more. But anyway, but all that, that's cool because I think I've told you before. I'm obsessed with even numbers. When something hits 98 or 99, I'm like, I want that zero. And I do that at work. That's what's so crazy at work. And I guess for an accountant, that's probably okay. But it's like I like them nice and neat. So, and let me say hello to hell back to Maddie's daddy, Steve Mitchum. Hell, sir. Great to see you again as always. Thank you, sir. And if you do subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit that bell, get the notifications live and when we go live. And Steve, thank you always for coming through. Anybody out in the chat, if you have any questions, whether it's about this tournament, whether it's about basketball, whether it's about officiating, anything you want to ask about, send it out tonight. Okay. We're here to talk basketball, talk things. Woopah knows a lot about basketball. I've officiated basketball, so we've got different perspectives with things. Right, Woopah? We love questions, don't we?
Oh, sorry. I pressed the button. I guess I didn't click right because I was starting to talk. And
I
then
think it went opposite because you muted yourself, but that's okay.
Oh, gosh. My bad then. I was trying to say something. I'm like, oh, why can't you hear me? Oh, it's because I'm muted. No, yeah. Dadman's a resident expert. Is an expert referee. He knows all the rules in and out.
Yeah, and and I will tell you, it comes down to angles. Angles are important, and I tell you what, it is a challenge sometimes with these faster kids and players playing. I know officiating at the high school level is much harder than the middle schoolers and crazy. But second and third graders were freaking impossible. They have so many rules, and how do you do it balance wise and be consistent? It was like, oh my god, that was. I finally said I can't handle this level. I got to get it where a foul's a foul, and and it's not stay with your color. Just that it's a bad house.
I know there's something that I can kind of understand it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Because my brother's playing. I forget if he's in third. I'm a bad brother. I forget if he's in third grade or fourth grade.
Yeah,
but they did a full. If a team gets a rebound, so if you're on offense and you shoot a rebound and the defense gets the rebound, you can't. You have to run back. They won't let you do any defense in your own zone.
Right.
That's I kind of understand to an extent, but sometimes I'm like, well, that's there's a point where you can do that.
Yeah.
Kind of hurting them by not teaching them.
Well, I think that the whole thought at that age level, second and third grade, he's talking about second and third graders, right?
Yes.
The point is that they're at that age, there's so much variation between the players. There's some very good players that could be playing with the fourth and fifth graders. Then there's other kids that are just learning the game and stuff. And what you do is you do that so that kids can have a chance to play the game. If you allowed so much pressing in the backcourt or stealing from, when the defender gets the ball, then it can slow the game down. It can frustrate the kids. They're having no trouble holding the ball most times at that age, unless you're like one of the phenomenal kids that just was basketball born. So, but and even then, like the league I was officiating, they had a no press unless you were down by 10. And what it was
10.
Yeah, but see, here's one of the other
I would
things
think
too.
you would want to. Sorry, I was thinking. I think you'd want to, not when you're down by 10, but if you're losing in the last seconds.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those hard things, but what it comes back down to is this: it's a league where they're trying to focus on development and not necessarily the score, but parents love the score and stuff like that. And when you only have one practice, and here's the biggest problem because I've coached it before, when you only have 1 hour to practice each week, you can't teach your team how to break presses and stuff like that very much. You have so little practice time. There's a lot that you can't do, and it's only like 6 weeks. So you got 2 weeks before the season. You really can't spend the time you need to do to teach all that stuff, the correct way. So, but yeah, conceptually, I got with you. It's not like a Y league. Where I'm at was not like a Y league where they're every night playing forever. And I agree. If you're doing that, then you can do some things like that. But if you have limited practice and stuff, you got to keep it where the kids can have fun. And if that's what you're trying to do, you know what I mean?
No, I understand. It's about everyone having fun and such.
Yeah.
But I think there's a point, there's a point that it's having fun. There's a point where it's like, hey, you want to teach them good skills that they'll use later too.
And that's what this league does too. It because they do also say, hey, we can only do it so much, but there are things that they have to allow and stuff because you do want the kids to develop too also. So it's kind of that balancing act, trying to make it even and fair, and where the kids can actually have fun and enjoy the game too. Equal playing time. I know that drives some people crazy, but you know what? That's the point of the league, is to try to balance it out for everybody to have a fair shot, and so that they can learn. You can't learn the game if you're not on the court. So
Right. That's kind of a prerequisite if you're just not
yeah,
playing.
absolutely. Well, folks, hey, thank you. We've been going about 10 minutes in. We've started off a little bit. We've still got 5 of y'all watching with us, hanging with us. Thank you for being here. We're going to start to get started in the meat of the show tonight. And we may have a special guest drop by at the top of the hour that we're really looking forward to talk about briefly about something that happened in women's basketball. So guess what? You're going to get more basketball tonight, not just the men's NCAA tournament. You're actually going to get women's college basketball mention, and you're even going to get a mention about the NIT tournament. So hey,
We're
with
jam
that,
packing you with basketball tonight.
absolutely. And let me say hello to Ness. Hi, Ness. Welcome. Welcome. And like I said, anybody, if you have questions about what we're saying, if we're speaking a foreign language, ask questions. If you have questions about basketball, whatever, we're here to help. So anyway, great to see you, Ness. Thank you for being here. All right. And hey, the Angry Canadian comes in. Hey, gents, listen to y'all while riding the train this morning.
Hey.
Hey, welcome. Welcome. Thank you.
Hello, my mild-mannered northerner.
Yes. And he just got 100 subs last night. Congratulations.
I think he's at 110 subs now. He's going
wow.
crazy.
He flew past it.
Yeah, he's
awesome.
kicking butt over here.
Absolutely. And Daisy says hello to Ness. Hey, all right, Woopah. All right. Woopah is our right hand man. Woopah is the chief of a lot of stuff around here when we talk basketball. Woopah, where do we start tonight?
Oh, sorry, I unmuted and then instantly coughed.
I know. Dang me button.
Yeah, so we are, I think I have it shared. We're starting with the title screen, but then we're going straight to recaps for the Final Four. So we're starting with San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic. That was the first matchup of the night they had.
Oh, shoot. There we go. I think that was me. That was my fault.
Oh, I never know if it's if I
Our internet
cut
connection.
out or anything. Yeah. But yeah, so here we go. We start with this Final Four matchup: San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic, down to the buzzer.
Mm-hmm. And Woopah, let me interject right here, folks. We had what we had, and Woopah, you can comment on this too. What we had was a Final Four for the ages that annoyed the hell out of basketball purists. You had no Big 12, you had no Big East, no SEC, no Big.
You have
Pac-12.
one Big East, I think.
Oh, well, the UConn. Okay, but you know what? The ACC. I meant the ACC. I get the ACC and the Big East messed up. But the point is, there's none of the Big 10, Big 12, all those conferences were home for this. So we ended up with San Diego State, Florida Atlantic. I messed up again. Miami was out of the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Oh, that's right.
I got myself.
Still, I mean,
there was a surprise.
USA and Mountain West. No Mountain West team. I don't think any Conference USA team, but definitely I know no Mountain West team had ever made it to the final.
And UConn. UConn was probably the most normal team to have in this four, but with a Miami, San Diego State, FAU, this is a bizarre Final Four this year. And I know that some of the basketball announcers and media people were saying this is not good for college basketball, but I disagree. But I think we really had madness this year. We have a 9 seed Florida Atlantic make it to the Final Four, and no 1 through 3 seeds advanced.
Yeah, I think I would say I disagree with what the announcers are saying. I can see somewhat just in the fact that I don't, San Diego State and Florida Atlantic both kind of, they had some interesting paths here. I don't, none of them ever had that win where you're like, oh, they're a really good team. Mm-hmm. At the same time, well, I know, we'll talk about it later. The other two teams, I think they looked very strong, had a good ride into the Final Four. But both of them beat a lot of good teams. Where you have UConn, they just beat everyone by a lot. But so I can see that in the sense that I don't think, I wasn't expecting this game to be particularly good. It ended up being pretty good,
Mhm.
um, but I think also who doesn't like remember when St. Peter's made it to the Elite Eight? Everyone was like, "Oh man, this is awesome." Were they the best team? Probably not. I mean, they didn't win at all.
Yeah.
Could you, if you were making a poll, you'd probably put at least 8 teams above them. Uh, but it's fun when you see that underdog coming in. So, like Florida Atlantic, I was hoping they'd win. Um, I thought, it's exciting when you see that ninth seed. Never, they'd never won even a single before. So,
Well,
I think everyone
even
likes to see a.
San Diego State to me was a Cinderella type team. I mean, they may have been a fifth seed, but it's not your normal. It's not like a Michigan or North Carolina or a team like that. It's a team. They're never there. And it was interesting to see them even as a fifth seed advance as far as that they did. Let me say hello real quick to Brian Hepburn. Hey, Brian, and he said the refs ruined the game late, in his opinion. So yeah, it's a lot of times it comes down to the officiating at the end. Whether they get involved or where they don't. But
Mhm.
sometimes a foul's a foul, whether it's even at 59.5 seconds in the game, a foul's a foul if it happens. But
Yeah.
you just don't want to ticky tack stuff, and you don't want the inconsistent officiating. So, but yeah, like you said, this is a great matchup here. Then we, on the other side, we had a 4 and a 5, or a 3, 4 and a 5. What's it? UConn and let's see, we had UConn and we had UConn was a 4 seed. Miami was, I think, what's that? Let's see, I'm trying to remember what Miami was as a seed going back. Yeah, Miami was a 5 seed. So we had 2 5s, a 4, and a 9 seed. You talk about madness. This was a year for madness. So, but we digress. So this game here, Woopah, looks very even, overall. And we it came down to the very last second with the game winning shot uh, from Lamont Butler at the buzzer.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. Lamont Butler's not. I think he's their lowest scoring guard of the 3 that they have. So that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty big. From I guess not a person you expect to hit the final shot, but
Yeah, and that's sometimes that's the guy you need, because they only had 2 scores over 20 points. I mean, over 10 points. A guard and a forward, Bradley, and forward Ladie. You know, but then Butler ended up with 9 points, but he hit the big shot of the night. And what Brian's saying, they called something on nearly every possession. LOL. Yeah, Brian, I tell you what, some officials can do that. Uh, and that does get annoying. I will say, in my refereeing experience, we had to. It's like we told the coaches, the players, and the parents when they got aggravated. It's like, look, if we called everything all the time, we wouldn't get out of the gym. But yeah, I know
well,
that's frustrating though. When it does seem like the officials get too involved in a game and not let them play.
yeah, and that's uh shoot. Hold on. Oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep, you're here.
I was gonna say, uh, too. I'm sure if you called everything, then the parents would say, "Oh, you're gonna call that,"
Yeah. Oh, they
People
do.
get, yeah. you know, I I feel like I'm consistent. I always think, hey, don't call the soft stuff.
Hmm.
But some people, they get mad when you let them play, and then when you don't let them play, they say, hey, get out of the game. Like, well, you got to pick one or the other. You can't have it both ways.
Nope. Nope. Otherwise, then you end up with a lot of inconsistency. So,
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can do as a ref is be inconsistent. They say that about umpiring too, because
hmm
uh, calling pitches, calling pitches in the strike zone is pretty hard to do. I mean, especially when they're throwing 90, 100 miles per hour. Being consistent, getting everything right. In all the years last year, it only happened once that umpire got every call correct. Um,
wow.
but what they measure accuracy and they measure consistency. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, if a umpire calls a ball that's like on the bottom of the strike zone, it should be a strike, but they call it a ball.
Yeah.
Um, it's technically incorrect. But if they always call that same pitch a ball all throughout the game, uh, it's usually a pretty good deal. Some people will get upset if you're watching on TV, because you'll see
Yeah.
the strike zone, but they don't see that. If as long as they're calling it consistently, then like the batters and the pitchers know, okay, if I pitch it here and low, it's not gonna get the call.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing. So same thing.
Consistency. Yeah. Same thing
Yeah,
even in
same thing with
basketball. Yeah.
basketball, football, anything. If you're gonna let something go on one play, you got to try and let it go on everything. If you're
I
gonna
will.
call something on every play, try to make sure you call it all the time.
I will say positioning is very key. And sometimes in basketball, the hardest part, especially if you're short like I am, is like getting the right angle, seeing over people, seeing through people. And, it's sometimes very difficult to get it. I mean, it's easy to look from the sideline, but sometimes when you're out there and you're getting shielded off by so many bodies in there, it can get hard. And you don't want to call something without, knowing what you've seen. So, but yeah, I do hate when the referees slow down the game though, like that though. That does get annoying. But then again, sometimes you do call like that to keep a game from getting too physical. So it just depends on the situation. So, hey, we got 7 people with us now. Make sure you follow us on the Twitch side and like and subscribe over on the YouTube side. And thank you for everybody here with us tonight on Monday night for Monday Madness. The national championship game tips off tonight at 9:20 Eastern. So, hey, and we're going to have fun talking about last week's games, and we will get into the game coming up. And we should have a special guest for a brief moment in a little bit. So we're looking forward to that. Woopah, the first thing I noticed is this. This was the best game of the two. Buzzer beater, 1-point win. You look at the stats, they're generally same number of field goals, same number of three-pointers, same number of free throws, although San Diego State had a very bad percentage with it. Rebounds are even. There's not negligible with steals, offensive rebounds, blocks. Fouls were the same. 34 fouls, though, to Brian's point. That's a lot of fouls. So
it is a lot of fouls. Yeah. But even on both sides, and like you said, a lot of these, there's some differences, but they're pretty similar. Florida Atlantic made the same amount of three-pointers, but took 4 more. And you get, about the same free throws, but San Diego State missed 3 more. A few more offensive rebounds for San Diego, but pretty much the same amount of total rebounds. Altogether, this was 2 evenly matched teams, I'd say.
Yeah, it was really a barn burner. I know I was following this back and forth at the in-laws, and that I thought Florida Atlantic had pulled away. I thought that even with a few minutes left, they had extended the lead, but San Diego State didn't go away. They kept fighting back. Overall, in the FAU held a 40-33 halftime lead, 7 points. But then San Diego State outscores FAU 39-31 in the second half to win by 1 point. It seemed like it was one of those late rallies by San Diego State that came through to clinch the win. So, but hey, this is why it's March Madness. We talked about these teams that we didn't expect to be there, but here's an insane game. It looked like it was going one way, then it looked like the other way, and then it's a buzzer beater. So.
Yeah, I think one thing, I think everyone was rooting for Florida Atlantic, I'd say, unless you went to San Diego State. But one interesting thing I'll just say about Florida Atlantic, their team is almost completely freshmen and sophomores.
Wow.
So they have. I looked this up before at work. Don't tell my boss. But I was looking up their roster and such.
The 7'1" center that they had, he's a sophomore.
No, they've got a lot of great players, but they're of only one senior total on this entire roster, Michael Forrest, who, he's he played a good, important role in this team, but overall, 20 point, basically 21 minutes a game, 8 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. You can definitely replace that. He's, fifth on the team in scoring. Nothing super important on rebounds and assists. So they said, besides him, the entire team's coming back next year. Wow. This is a team, deep run in the NCAA tournament and, ninth seed just off regular season play alone. You expect them to be even better. And even if you get into, I don't know. I know none of these guys are like, they already announced everyone's coming back next year, except the senior, obviously.
Right.
But even if, assuming no one declares for the draft, they only have 3 juniors, and all 3 of the juniors, you have Jalen Gaffney. He's played 22, 23 minutes a game, but only had 4 points a game, 3 2 per game. So that's not super important. It's not a big shoe to fill. Brian Greentree, who was 25 minutes a game, 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. So, he was 6th on the team in scoring, but still, again, it's not one of your core players, someone you can replace. And who's the last one? Brandon Weatherspoon. He only played 16 minutes a game. So even if, not just next year, but the year after, assuming all these sophomores and freshmen, don't declare for the draft, which we know they're not doing that this year, but maybe they will next year. But assuming they don't, they're all coming back, and they're going to be a pretty formidable team. You assume if this is them now, 9 seed in Final Four, imagine them in 1 or 2 years.
If they made the tournament next year, they will get a higher seed more than likely.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And they already are. They officially won the most games of any team this year, even losing this game. They have, I think, 30. How many do they have? They're 35-4. 35 wins, the most for any team, no matter what happens in the national championship.
Wow, that is something. Yeah,
this is a team you're probably going to see them next year. I'd assume, at least in the top 8 seeds. Interesting to see how it goes. They could really make some noise in the future.
I thought it was interesting. We had talked about last time about the 7-footer Golden. And why he didn't play so much during the season. Well, this was one of those games where he only got 21 minutes. He was on 2 for 4 shooting, 1 of 5 free throws, really didn't rebound a lot. So probably with the flow of the game, probably was a liability out there on the court if he couldn't score. So, it was interesting because, what we had talked about before. Well, why didn't the 7-footer get so much? Because he had an impressive number in the regional finals, but it all depends on your matchups, size. And we talked before the show about small ball, which is something where you're playing with smaller players, guards, a lot more speedy, up-tempo type of basketball rather than the standard old traditional slow it down half-court game, use your big men to post up and score. So,
yeah, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I don't think any of the San Diego forwards really did much on offense. So,
no.
Maybe you can get away with. Actually, it looks like I didn't notice this. Florida Atlantic started 4 guards. So they were going real small ball and had Golden up there. I'm sure rotated in some forwards and such for him, but they were playing real small ball.
Yep, absolutely. So, well, that's what we have with this game. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State was a barn burner. If you picked on San Diego State, it was that they only hit 59% of their free throws. So, which could have, that can't dismiss that because they won by 1 point. Had they lost, you could have chalked up a difference to the lack of good free throw shooting there in a game like this. So, but hey, yeah. All right.
Shall we go to the next game?
We shall go to the next game as we hit 7:32. Thank you, everybody that's here. Thank you for hanging out with us. And now we got the 5th seed Miami from the Midwest against UConn, the 4th seed out of the West.
Now this one it's not really close the entire time. Uh, UConn had the lead the whole time, and it was pretty much double digits the entire time too. That's the thing. It wasn't just a small gradual lead. It was big pretty much from the start.
Yeah, UConn jumped out halftime lead at halftime, led 37-24. That 13-point margin held on to be the final margin of the game. With UConn winning 72-59. And let me say hello to Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hello.
Thanks for stopping by. All righty. Hey. Yeah, keep coming, people. We're going, and like I said earlier, if you have questions about either tournament, these matchups, what these numbers mean, or any of the terms we're using, or if you have just general questions and all, feel free to put them in the chat. We love questions. We love comments. If you've watched the games, put your comments, like what Brian had mentioned here, some of his observations from watching it. So, yeah, and I think with this, you can tell right offhand how this game got away early. When you look at the difference in field goals made, and free throw and rebounds. Because to me, one of the biggest stats in a game to me is the rebounds. Not always, but many times you can look and see how games go with the performance on the board, second chance points and things like that. Because like UConn out rebounded by Miami by 9, and that could be the easier baskets put back. And let's say hello to the lovely Sherry. Hello, Sherry.
Hey, Sherry, how's it going?
Welcome tonight. We got Woopah here, who prepared these wonderful, wonderful slides. So,
Woohoo.
Yes. So tell us more about your slides, Woopah. What did you want to point out with them?
Yeah, the biggest thing to me was the field goal percentage. I mean, UConn shooting 5 less shots, but making 8 more. And I think you look at the blocks, and I know, it's not everything, and Miami did get a lot of steals, but you're looking at UConn had 5 blocks. Miami only managed to get 1. I know that not Miami, UConn was the bigger team going into it. We talked about a bit. And definitely, I think that you can see those blocks plus the low shooting percentage. You can definitely see it affected something here.
Miami shot on that 20 of 62. That equates to 32.3%. So basically,
it's not good. Not good.
Hit 1 for every 3 shots. So that's not good.
That's about a Shaq free throw percentage.
I don't even know if that's a good drinking shot percentage. That'd be like missing your face twice, spilling all your alcohol, and only hitting once.
That's true. If you're drinking shots at that percentage, they need to cut you off at the bar.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think another big thing to me, besides the fact that we already talked, they pretty much had a double-digit lead the entire time. I think there was one time where I was watching, I was like, "Oh, look, it's down to 9." It didn't, it went right back to back to double digits pretty much right as I said that. Another big thing is, Miami's top player. He's not their leading scorer. They had someone I believe had 16 points, but they only had 2 players above 10 points altogether.
2
Jordan
guards.
Miller, I only put here because he managed to get 10 boards as well, the double-double. But you can see only attempted 1 3-pointer and missed it. 4 of 10 overall. 400%. Not the worst, but definitely if that's your top player, not what you're looking for.
Yeah. I got to say this, Brian. Airplane, Robert Hayes drinking problem. Yes, that was like the Miami's, if you equate it to a drinking problem. Yes, exactly. And thank you for all you 9 people that are out here watching with us and having fun. Like I said, leave your questions, comments, whatever out in here. And Woopah, like you mentioned, you did note the double-double that was there. They did have one other player that scored 15, actually.
15. That was close.
15. It was Isaiah Wong. Had 15 points. Only 1 board, but in 35 minutes of action. But you look at it overall, Miami ran a 4-guard offense. What we were talking earlier about how you'd observed that UConn was a bigger team, had the height. So that goes a long way. They out-rebounded Miami by 9 on the boards. Actually, the offensive rebounds, which is where your second chance points come from, were pretty even. Miami had 14, UConn had 13. but UConn out rebounded on the defensive end, which limit when we talk about defensive rebounds, that means that when Miami shot and missed, especially when they missed so many shots, you get more of the rebounds on the defensive side. You limit the second chance points from the other team. Offensive rebounds are those rebounds where when your team has a ball and you're shooting it, you get the ball back off on the offense, what they call on the offensive side. So you can keep possession and either try to score or reset your possession for another chance to score. So that's why we talk about differences between offensive rebounds and total rebounds. Because those make a big difference in how offensive production. The biggest way to dominate a game, especially if you have size, is limit the other team from second chance points and keep them off the boards, or then to crash the boards on offense and get easy layups.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's it's important. I think it helps momentum a lot if you keep getting those shots up, and for both sides, I think those second chance points, I think, are always a little demoralizing. When you're because instead of thinking like, oh hey, we shut them down, even if they make a basket, you're like, oh darn. But if they miss, and then they get the ball back and then score, it's like, man, even when we do stop them and play defense right, we can't get rid of them. I think that can be really frustrating for a team.
Well, as a coach,
as a coach, definitely.
As a coach, I tell you, I loved it watching my kids when they box out and out hustle on the boards. Even if we're not shooting well, when they get they block out, and you can see the other team getting frustrated, especially when we're on defensive end and you keep them to one shot. They get frustrated. Or when my kids would get the rebounds and put it back up and just get it. I got to do a dad moment. Don't tell Aang this. One of the proudest moments I ever had was that somebody took a shot, and this big old tall guy, and she was playing boys, girls, and guy goes up for the rebound, comes down, turns, Aang comes right, it's like standing right there, grabs that ball and throws it right up so quickly and made a basket right on the offensive end. It was a beautiful offensive, a steal. It was a steal, but it was a great short putback. So sorry, I had to digress there for a dad moment.
Hey, that's fine.
But it does when you that's a way to control a game, especially if you're not shooting well. It's controlling the boards, and if you have height, you can. It can offset a lot of a bad shooting day, a lot of other disadvantages that you may have in the game. So, and like you said, when they get frustrated, they play harder, play worse sometimes. So,
no, I think too. We talk about offensive rounds being even about, which is technically true, but I think you got to look at the chances as well. There were 42 chances for a rebound in this from field goal shooting, if you're looking at that. While UConn only had, that's harder math. Hold on.
29. There's 29 missed shots for UConn.
Oh, wow,
so UConn was about 50%, but Miami at like less than 33%. When you shoot that low, you're going to have a lot more rebound opportunities. So, and then UConn obviously got more of those on the defensive side because Miami was missing so many on that side. But I tell you what's really, I think, was critical was that UConn had 13 offensive rebounds, yet they still shot 50-something%.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Doing the math real quick. They got even though they got one less, they got 45% of their own misses. That's going to help a lot. Meanwhile, let me punch this into the calculator real quick, but Miami got 33%, which is still, not a terrible amount, but we talk about offensive rebounds, even though you look at it and say, oh, it's pretty even, Miami got one more. Well, overall, UConn cleaned up a lot of their misses to, almost 50%. That's insane. While Miami got about 33%, which is good, but not, nothing out of this world. When you have that many misses, you would hope that you get more offensive rebounds.
You're going to need it to be able to score to stay in the game. So, absolutely, absolutely. Adama Sanogo scored 21 points on 9 of 11 shooting. That's over 75% of his field goal attempts. 2 of 3 from 3-point range. Only 1 of 4 from the free throw line, but had 10 rebounds.
Yep,
So we
10
got
rebounds,
another
2
double double.
blocks. Really, I think that's why I don't think small ball is bad, especially in college and the NBA. I'm not so I'm not always so sure, but in college, the talent's so much more spread around and size as well. Uh, that you can kind of get away with playing a little smaller because the odds are everyone else is going to be playing smaller. There's only a finite amount of uh, not everyone's going to find a 7-1 Russian guy, so. And also, there's a lot of players I can speak from that for Baylor specifically. We've got those tall guys, but maybe they're not the best at basketball. You can't just have a tall guy who stands there. Once you're getting into top tier college basketball, that tall guy's got to know what to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Once you're starting 4 guards, if you can start 4 guards against a team that doesn't have a lot of big man talent like San Diego State did, you can get away with that. Obviously, they lost Florida Atlantic, but they made it pretty close, played a good game. With Miami, when you're putting 4 guards and you've got a guy like Adama Sanogo, who has been UConn's best player all year, he's going to tear you up inside. There's not much you can do with that.
Well, what's even more dangerous with him is that he's inside-outside. Look at that 3-point shooting, 2 or 3 from the 3-point shooting. When you have a guy with that kind of size that can step out at the 3-point line, or even if it's just inside, hit those shots from the perimeter, it expands your defense. It opens the lanes for people cutting, attacking the basket for other people. Because when somebody can score like that from out there, you've got to get on him and cover him. You can't just let him shoot, unmolested. So.
Well, and that's something, we'll talk about this further, but we saw it in the women's Final Four. One of the guards, or one of the big men, had the ball at the 3-point line, and the girls basically just played in the key because they knew, hey, that person can't make threes. They're not going to shoot. And sure enough, they didn't shoot. That helps you, if you can guard that inside and don't have to worry about that guy on the point, that can really help you defensively. Even if these big men, I think of it like NBA comparison, Nikola Jokic, he doesn't really shoot a lot from 3, but when he does, it's usually high percentage. And it's not that he's a guy who maybe one of those big men like that search for the 3 ball. But if you can, you get an open shot and they don't guard you seriously, you can make them pay. Then, they always have to have that guy on you.
Yeah.
Which, you're a big guy. Adama Sanogo, I think, is 6'9". I know Nikola Jokic is 7'2". He's a real big guy. Once you get that guy on you, if you can muscle your way past him or blow by him, next thing you know, you got an open lane for you. No one's stopping you then with a head of steam.
And so Sanogo's, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, if you can just keep him honest, not even just trying to shoot threes, but if you're open at the point, can shoot and make him pay enough, that's going to open up opportunities not just for your teammates inside, but also for you inside. Once the guy's rushing to cover you on the 3-point, you can blow by him.
Yeah, he's 6 feet 9 inches tall, and that's pretty standard for somebody to hit a 3-pointer. But if you can get somebody with that size playing that position, because what you draw, either you break the zone defense or you draw a man out, which opens, like you said, opens up other people down and low. So it's a lot to go there. I think a player like that's very fascinating to look with that size, with the ability to hit inside, outsides, and he's able to rebound. Look at how many times they got 6'9" guys can't out rebound a 6'6" guy, but it's but and then look at Jordan Miller. I think Miller for Miami though was a guard, but he's a 6'7". That's what's crazy this day and age. These sizes of these players in these positions. In the old days, they have like 6'3" guards. Now you got 6'7" guards and you got 6'9" forwards. Used to a lot of times centers would be 6'9", or you're blessed if you could get 6'10" or 7 foot. But
They've got a lot of tall players, and what always strikes me as crazy. I was watching some French guy. I think he's a high prospect.
I like the way you phrase that.
I mean, some French guy. But no, what I think is always interesting. It's so many of the builds of these players. I don't know if maybe I missed it in the past, but it seemed like most of the guys were pretty. They looked as normal as guys who are almost 7 foot can look. You've got Shaq. He was 7'3", but he had the weight on him that you're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's just a big man. Even Yao Ming, I know he was a little bit taller, but he had meat on his bones. Move like you would expect a guy to move. You got so many of these guys. This top prospect, I think he's 6'10", and he's just so lanky. Hands almost down to his knees, and you're like, holy cow! Like it just looks weird when you're looking at it. Like this doesn't make sense.
But you said that that's the important thing. Yao Ming and Shaq both had meat. They had physical. They had girth to them. You look at somebody like Manute Bol that was like 7'6", and he was so thin though that they pretty much made him a 3-point shooter outside. Or he could get some rebounds, but he couldn't really. He'd have to reach over people. He couldn't really post up offensively or block people out on the defensive side.
Well, that's the thing. He was great at blocking, but he's not going to overpower people. He's he's not the guy. I think that was the thing. He's great on defense because how are you going to shoot over this 7'7"
what
guy?
I was meaning is blocking shots, but I was talking about blocking out, like when you had to body up to get in rebounding position. A guy like him without having, it was all his arms and how high he could reach, because he could get outworked by somebody that was shorter, faster, could push him around a little bit. So, because there is physicality in basketball, folks. There
especially
really
back in the day, there was. Maybe you look at modern NBA, not as much.
They all keep whining for fouls all the time.
Yeah, that guy, he may have looked big, height wise, but he wasn't going to be able to back anyone down. And I'm sure he probably couldn't even back Charles Barkley down. Smaller guy, but he was big and he knew how to use his weight. Did you know he had a son, Manute Bol?
Yes, I think his son went to UCF. I know Michael Jordan's kid went.
He went to Oregon.
Okay, I remember the name. Yeah.
You know what his first name is?
No.
It's Bull.
Bull?
Yep, that's his name. Bull.
Okay.
That's a poor kid.
He's not playing still, is he?
I think he's out. He had a weird arc. Let me look him up real quick.
Yeah.
Because he
got drafted. How tall was he, by the way?
Oh, he's pretty tall. He's 7'2". He's a tall guy.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But he had the weirdest thing. He was drafted mid-second round, which was kind of surprising because he was a pretty good college player. Not like a lottery pick, but you expected him in the first round with his size. But he got drafted by Denver in the middle second round, and then they just refused to play him. In 3 seasons in Denver, he played 53 games and only had 6.2 minutes a game. And Denver not only didn't play him, but wouldn't send him down to the G League. It's a new thing you can do, and wouldn't just barely played him, wouldn't trade him for anything. Even a cup of coffee at that point, you might as well, hey,
yeah, exactly.
Give me some soda for the rest of the year. But this year he's playing in Orlando. He's made 30. He's played 67 games, so already in one season played more in Denver, and actually started 32 of them.
Wow,
he's not blowing away the
Magic though.
Yeah, but he's not blowing away anyone. But he went, scoring 9 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, and he's shooting pretty good. 3 points not good, but he's got a 566 field goal. That's not bad. So
it's 7'2". 7'2". Wow.
Yeah, and he's 23, so still kind of young. It's not like he's blowing away the world, but
still,
you look at this guy and it's like, why didn't Denver play him? He's certainly a valuable piece to have on your team, even if it's off the bench.
Well, let me say hello to Balzette for coming in. Hi, Balzette. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're having fun. And actually, I don't know what we're going to move right on to right this second because we'll wrap up with this because it's almost time for something special. And
Yeah.
we're going to jump off to something else in just a second. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing is if you're 7 feet tall or even 6'10" or higher, taller, if you have any ability to move around or be functional athletically, you got a career. It's like the left-handed reliever in baseball. You could throw junk
Hmm.
and crap and all that, but if you're left-handed, you can make a lot of money being a very mediocre pitcher in the major leagues, being a lefty reliever. Same thing, you could be a 2 point a game bench guy in the NBA, making a very nice living. Kind of like the NFL backup quarterback. You
Hmm.
know, making all those millions
Yeah.
of money just to hold a clipboard.
It's harder now because current commissioner for baseball has messed with a lot of stuff. We've talked about that. They got rid of you have to face 3 batters, I think now. But they used to have the loogie. I don't know if you remember that.
Well, can I spill a little beans from Daisy Blossom and I are doing a movies thing now. In a few weeks, we're going to end up watching, reviewing it on a Wednesday night with everybody. Demolition Man.
Ooh.
I love that movie. But you know what? What you said about what the Major League Commissioner is doing and with these stupid rules that you're showing the clips on your Twitter, go follow Woopah Troopah on Twitter too and see. I feel like just yelling at the commissioner and the umpires of why don't you just shove a leash up my ass? It's like, damn it. I mean, you can't play the game because you got to do this, got to do this, got to do that. And I will say, from a referee standpoint, you get, I mean, how many more damn rules do you have to interpret, especially the ones that are open to interpretation? That's what gets difficult in this stuff. Traveling is very hard sometimes to get. Yeah, you know what it theoretically is, but if your eye's just off, you can miss it. There are some times, what's a hard foul? What really is a foul should be a foul. Is a hand check enough contact or just barely touching? So much of this comes down to judgment. And the more judgment you require out of the officials, the more you have the potential for screw ups, and not even intentional, just getting it wrong, because they're human. They're expected to do something. Now you can use technology. Is a foot in, is a foot out? There are things that you can compensate to correct that, but sometimes it's hard when you have to use judgment on so many calls. Pass interference in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Go look at it sometime. So anyway, sorry, I had to go to a little officiating digression right there, but yeah,
No, it's fine. But yeah, no, just saying to your point, it's not as much of a thing anymore. But there used to be the loogie, which is always a fun lefty one out only guy.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you had him on the roster, and it
Yep.
was just, hey, this guy, you put him against righties and they'll tee off on him, but you put against lefties and he becomes
You
Cy
see
Young
that box
himself.
score, 1/3 of an inning.
Yeah,
See,
and
1/3 of an
they
inning.
cha-
Yeah.
they changed it, which I think is dumb because I think it was great. It was great
And now the
strategizing,
rules
but
that the position players can only pitch at certain times and all that other stuff. It's like,
that's
just stop it, please.
I
It's
don't
bad.
understand that.
We may have to end up doing a baseball or talk baseball
Yeah,
somehow this coming up
I,
season.
that
This is
always
two
makes me
basketballs we've gotten back to baseball, but it's cool.
yeah, that always frustrates me because just like that was always fun, even if it's silly, it's a blowout. They only come out in a blowout game, and you get to say, "Hey, look
Mm-hmm.
at this guy!" Albert Pujols. Suddenly, he's on the 42-year-old making his pitching debut. Or hey,
Exactly.
Yachty is usually behind the dish. Now he's pitching to the dish. It's just fun stuff like that. That I don't think
Oh,
anyone complained about that. I'd never see anyone say like, "Oh, I hope they don't, they get rid of that." Like, whatever.
I
Anyway,
know.
we're
I know.
getting off topic.
Well, it's bad enough now. They got review and basketball too that slows the game down too. It's like every sport has review now, but I
Mhm.
still think basketball is probably the last true officiating sport where the officials really have, you know, the control over the game. Where
Mhm.
it comes down to not as much judgment as like in the NFL and baseball that they're required to do. I mean, because you do have examples. It's just whether they catch it or they see it enough. And that that's can be a problem. So All right. So do we want to kick this game around anymore? Have we kicked this one pretty good? Oh,
I
Connecticut
think
though.
we're good.
Look at that. Look at that though. Connecticut was 7 of 13, and I just noticed this. They were barely 50% free throw shooting, but because that
Mhm.
me because they're barely 50%, 7 of 13, and let me see. And San Diego State was at 59% in the last game. Let me see what the number actually was. They were, I think, 13 of 22. So, folks, if this has got a lot of fouls in it tonight, you might see, I don't know, both teams might do hack a shack with free throw percentages like that. So, but that's one thing I've noticed with these two teams. If there does come a free throw shooting, which team will, if it's close, and it becomes a free throw shooting game, then who shoots the better free throws? Oh God, oh man, I love that. Yeah, yes, he doesn't know how to use his 3 seashells. One of the great Rob Schneider lines ever. Yes. Oh gosh, I love that one. But hey, hey, no problem. You're here now, though. But yeah, 3 seashells. I wonder that does anybody figured out the 3 seashells? Well, come in on the 19th, and we'll talk about that and see if somebody did. How about that? But
So we've got predictions here. I wanted to go over this real quick just because
yep.
I'm winning.
There you go. I don't blame you, Woopah. You won at football. You're winning at basketball.
Yeah, and
right
at this point, I mean, there's only one game left. We did predict the score as well, just to add some excitement. But pretty much, no matter how we go, I am the champion. It was pretty close. The Dadman, I think it came down. Dadman did really good in the first round. I think it was
the second round. I think did it.
It was the second round. I think
Yeah.
you did pretty bad, and I went 500.
Yeah.
Other than that, we've been pretty close. It has been a good matchup, but I'm happy to be winning. That's for sure.
Oh, there you go. Well, we'll see. We'll talk about the final score in a little bit too. That will be interesting to see which one of us come out on that. See where we were with that and how that turns out. So,
and you go with not just like the score, like who you're projecting to, who you're projecting to score a lot or who score a little, depending on who, but also like the differential. You're expecting a close game, you're expecting a blowout stuff. Both things you can look at there.
Yep, exactly. So it will be interesting to see how they did. Yeah, you keep showing that screen all you want to. You deserve to, Woopah.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So, and folks, like I've said before, Woopah has made all these slides that you've seen the last several weeks. Give him credits, give him some applause out there, give him cake out there if you want to put all these slides together, and really has worked out. Really worked hard on this, on these slides with this. So,
well, thank you, sir. I appreciate
absolutely.
the kind words.
Can't do it without you, Woopah, and appreciate everything you got here going. So let us see something real quick. Let's see. Do this.
Yes.
So take a look at that, Woopah, because we got 7 people with us right now watching.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love to see it.
Thanks for hanging. Thank you for hanging with us. So, yep.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I was doing while we were taking a small break, I was just noticing
2 minutes, Woopah. So they are coming. So we can either hold off on this and stall. Oh gosh. Dadman just hated the cake, man. I just I don't know why I said cake. I just love cake. Fortunately, catches
who
up to me.
Who doesn't like cake? Weirdos, that's who.
And there's a diagram for the 3 seashells online. Okay, I will have to look for that. Wow, that's interesting. Although it's one of those things that I don't know if I ever really want to know if it's if there really was an answer, one of those unsolved mysteries, the Bermuda Triangle or something like that. That was kind of the cool thing, just to see, just to see that happen, and you got that mystery, like you're buggy, how does that happen? See, so that movie is back in the 90s. Now we got it still 30 years later. We're still talking about it. what's the real answer? What is there a real answer? So how that goes. But hey, yeah, if anybody I know here would know, it would be Bowsette, definitely. So absolutely, folks. So listen, like I said, make sure y'all put your questions, comments, and stuff like this. Yeah, so we love to answer questions. Thank you for being here with us, and we're waiting on something real quick, and just something special
Yes.
that's about to come up
All
that we're
right.
going to do.
Do you want to, while we're waiting, do you want to talk about the NIT or?
I don't think so. I think we need to stay flexible because I think this is going to come quick and hard when it does. Looking at this, so we got time.
Phrasing
Hey,
there.
phrasing. Hey, tip off's not till 9:20. We got 7 wonderful
We
people
got plenty
here
of
with
time.
us. We got plenty of time. We're not going. I mean, I'm getting sexier by the minute, but hey, that's awesome.
There you go.
I got to keep the missus from coming in here and attacking me. But yeah, hey,
Oh, that's a very common problem for Dadman. He's always fighting off the women. Says, "Hey, I'm married. Stay off of me."
yeah, absolutely, dang straight. But hey, and we'll kind of touch base on. We'll kind of tease this subject a little bit. One thing is with sports. Well, here we go, folks. My guest, Woopah. We now have yeah. Hey, just hold around a second,
Ooh,
Bowsette, because
pizza.
we have a very special guest right now who got my attention today by a tweet. We are going to go into the women's Final Four, the women's national championship game, but help me give this wonderful greeting to the Queen of Florida herself, Lorena Creole. Hi, Lorena.
Hey.
Hello, Dadman. Hey, Woopah Troopah. Hello to all of you folks out there.
How are you doing this evening? I know you're busy as anything, so hey.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
And thank you, Ness, for being here. Yeah, you were on. I mean, you got your daytime job. You were, and Ness, thank you again for coming by and join our football coming up down the road. Thank you for coming, though. And thank you, everybody that's been here. Yeah, I saw you. I know you got your daytime job. You were on Valiant Renegade earlier with the Disney conference call, and then you had a stream earlier, a stream now, and we're gracious to have you for a few minutes. And thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Glad I could make it.
Absolutely. So we'll be very good with your time right here because you got my attention today, Lorena, on Twitter, like you always do. And you remember the one about the play and I'm going to show it here in just a second about the little thing of the gestures during the women's tournament.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to I'm going to show it for everybody, and then I want you to comment on it and see where we go because I love what your tweet was about get over it and things like that. So let's and yeah, everybody's welcoming you, Lorena. Hey
everybody.
All righty. So let me bring this up. Hey, isn't it funny that I got to do it this time? And you're sitting back as a guest. That's kind of cool, isn't
it? Yeah, tables have turned, right?
Yes, I just got to not boomer it. So anyway, here we go. Here we go, folks. Here's what it is. Let me go to a larger screen here, F11, as the missus reminds me. There we go. And this is what happened. It was about a 13, 15-point game. LSU was playing Iowa. Iowa had upset the number 1 South Carolina Gamecocks in the Final Four matchup. This is in the championship game. And we talk about sportsmanship, all these things, class acts, all this stuff. And this is what happened here. So if you can see it. Uh-oh.
Oh, no. What did you do?
I don't know. I hit a button. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Let me pull it down. I hit the wrong button. That's what I did.
Oh, that's okay.
So there you go. Let me see. There you go. Yeah, there you go. I think my computer just went in overload right there. So give me a second, folks. Oh, man. It went crazy. So, sorry, Woopah. I'm hitting buttons.
That's fine.
All righty. So, and let me get off F11. That's why I don't like F11 sometimes, because when I hit F11, I get in trouble. So Let us, let's see. Here we go. All right. All right. We're going to try that again. Let me bring it back up. Let's see. Thank you. Thank y'all for your patience.
Oh, no
All
worries.
right. Like this.
Oh,
So I'm going to mute the tab. I'm going to do this, and then we're going to play it here. We go. I'm going to try this again. Uh-oh. There we go. See, pointing at the ring finger there, and then the John Cena thing.
Yeah.
The John Cena thing. So we talk about, and hey, FK, welcome here. You just come to
Oh.
Hey,
and the missus says hello to you too, Lorena.
hey, missus.
Absolutely. So Whoop and I talked about a little bit earlier. See, I've done some officiating, I've done stuff like that, and I'll play it again while we're doing it. And I'm kind of like old school. Well, keep it on the let your game show you all this stuff. Kind of see, like in these cases, I would technical foul this, that, and the other. Whoopa, how do you feel about stuff like this in sports?
To me, I think, and maybe this is a little silly. I think there's always, I'll say the difference between Cam Newton and Terrell Owens. I know, and T.O. did some cool stuff, but there's always, Cam Newton, one of my favorite players. He always, he just played with a lot of energy. He was celebrating. And I think it's really fun. He hyped up the fans, always giving away game balls. And then you had T.O., running to the Dallas Star, trying to antagonize, really get in people's, get people upset. To me, I think there's two different sides. If you're just celebrating, kind of having fun and all that stuff, I think it's cool. With once you kind of start getting antagonistic, I kind of think, hey, kind of just being a jerk at that point.
Yeah. So Lorena, I noticed what your tweet was today. So what do you think about this type of on the court? To what extent, because I'll let you speak for your tweet earlier. What triggered you to say the comment that you did earlier today?
The reason that I did, granted, I was a cheerleader in middle school, high school. I've hung around college ball. I've hung around basketball players, both on the court and both, neighborhood basketball games. I've heard trash talk, trash gestures, part of the game, not as bad as, like, say, if there's like an officiating game being played, there's still that's out there, but it's not as in your face to say that you're not, that you're not on the court. But what I saw there, I really don't understand what the big deal is, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. Now, she didn't take it further, than that. But apparently, the young lady that she was actually making that gesture at actually did the same thing to her. And I'm looking and I'm just like, this is so minuscule to me.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
was
all
like,
just, the trash talking that, that goes on the court. It's not like she was sticking her hand in, her hands in her face or anything like that. That's a different story. But just basically saying, hey, I got this ring and you're not going to get it.
well,
you
see,
know.
and that's where I kind of I'm kind of really old school about not doing some of that stuff. It's because I tell you, I've been to so much sports over the year. It's always funny. You get these conferences with their announcements. We like good sportsmanship and blah, 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 blah. And then yet you hear the language and the stuff on the court. It's like, my gosh, won't you read it to the players yourself? But I think, and it's because that's always a hard part I've had personally. And it's like, when does trash talk become over the line, things like that? But in this case, what your reaction, I guess, was to the way people were making it like she killed somebody, basically, like it was some big.
That's the thing, because I've seen calls made for unsportsmanlike conduct, but it hasn't been for something, like this. I've heard trash talk, banter happen between players, Like, okay, you got to throw that free throw. Yeah, let's see if you can throw another brick. Put another, brick in to build your mom a house. I mean, that's their trash talk that goes, that goes on. I mean, unsportsmanlike conduct to me is, granted it's a technical foul, tripping people, purposely waving your arms in somebody's face when they're trying to do a free throw. I've seen that happen. That's different. But just, that gesture that she did in passing,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see the big, huge problem with that. It's a competition. You can have sportsmanlike conduct and still trash talk to a limit.
Right.
It's supposed to not be taken seriously. It
Mhm.
is a psychological maneuver
Yeah.
that happens. But with this here, they made it seem like it was okay for Caitlin to do this, but not okay for Angel to do it. And that's the problem that I had. It's like you either need to say both of them don't need to do it, which I don't agree with, or they're both allowed to do it. You can't have one set of rules for one person and one set of rules for another.
And we've talked about, we were talking about that earlier, is consistency from the officiating, and either also consistency with how you apply the rules.
Exactly, because
that's
if
all
you
you want.
called it, that's it,
Right. See, I probably would have called it technical because I don't like stuff like that going on. But I mean, I've officiated kids basketball, and it still goes on. And the coaches are sometimes worse than the kids. But if you called everything, you can't. You'd be stopping the whole game, throwing everybody out of the gym at some point, And that's one thing that I've always been on the non-trash quiet side because of. It starts and leads and grows into something bigger, and that's why I've always been careful with this type of stuff. But as I understand this was at the end of the game. It was Michael Jordan did a lot of trash talking, and nobody complained.
Yes, it's kind of like, it's like, I almost want to say it's almost like a I don't want to say it's a cultural thing, but it probably is. A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
It's like it's expected when you do it. You don't trash talk to be insulting. You're trash talking to psych your opponent out.
Right. And that's the thing, is not crossing those lines, because I've seen where stuff happens and it gets out of line. And that's the part where you've got to clamp down and stop it when it's starting to change the way the game's playing, when it's becoming more than played. But Lorena, you also raised a great point with this, because the same person that got taunted in this case did the same I don't see you thing a couple weeks ago when they played against Louisville in a game. And nothing was made about when she did it, but it just happened to be in the biggest stage in the championship game. Was, it became this thing, that somebody decided to make an issue of it, but then again, there's your news media wanting a story to run with.
Exactly. No one, if they hadn't made a big deal out of it, no one would have paid really that much attention to it.
I think so. I was trying to find a video. I couldn't find it, but I think a lot of it is there's a little bit more that happens behind the scenes, kind of not behind the scenes, but what wasn't on the video. Because I think Caitlin Clark did that. Like, you can't see me recently in the tournament. So kind of
against Louisville in the Elite Eight. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of coming back at her. What I think a lot of people are upset about, and where you get the kind of the difference, is I think what happened with Caitlin Clark is she sunk some big basket, put them up, and while she's backpedaling on the court to play defense, she does it. What I was seeing between what's her name? Angel, was at the end of the game, she was kind of following her around. So the game's over, no one's playing, and she's following around doing the "you can't see me," doing the ring stuff. After the game's over, Caitlin Clark, probably emotional, doesn't want to see it, just trying to get back to the bench. And whenever she'd move, kind of Angel would move with her. Angel Reese would move with her and kind of just keep trying to get into her face or get in her line of sight, trying to say, hey, look at, that's where I think people get the kind of the difference is. If she just did that, I think a lot of people would say, hey, kind of giving her a taste of her own medicine. But the fact that she's kind of like, hey, after the game, falling around, trying to get into her face, that's kind of where, to me, it's like, well, now, you're kind of just being a little, disrespectful, and then you're trying to hurt people's feelings at that point. The game's already over. You already won. Now you're just being kind of rude.
And that's kind of where I take issue with that. It's like if it's after the game, I've seen people in the stands, opponents of each other, trash talking, after the game. I say about feelings, I think people really take this a lot harder than they need to. It's not fun to lose. It freaking sucks to lose.
It
It
does.
sucks to lose,
Yeah.
and you're on the bus and you lost, on someone's, home turf, and their fans are basically just booing you while your bus is leaving.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's part of competition. You win, you get the bragging rights. You lose, you don't. Some places,
Mhm.
they're, okay, game's over, we go home. Other places, they're not like that.
Yeah.
They're like, they want to basically reinforce to you, yeah, it is, yeah, we did win. Was it in poor taste? Probably. But I don't think that she deserves a lot of this extreme criticism that she's getting in the press for this. I've
Well,
seen worse at high school games.
yeah. And the other thing is, I read more about the story. Apparently, this stems for other things too, because one that that Clark had that not only in the Elite Eight action, but apparently in the previous game when they upset South Carolina, there
Hmm.
was some gesture she made waving off a South Carolina player, like like they said, like treating her like what Russell Westbrook. I'm not sure what that means, but basically, there was some disrespectful gesture she made during the game to a South Carolina player, and Angel Reese is saying that she disrespected South Carolina. Well, South Carolina, LSU were Southeastern Conference rivals, and so they viewed it as, hey, she disrespected my friend. I'm going to let her know about it, and and that's what she's saying is part of the reason why she did and made a point of going after her specifically, because in this case is it's kind of that thing of, if you're going to keep dishing it out, you better be able to take it. And that's so I think
Abs-
she made her bed, and if you go around waving everybody off and making gestures at them, it's going to come after you. So
Yeah, it is. And in the other case, if the ref calls you out for it, guess what? You'll learn to be more discreet about it next time, won't you?
no, exactly. And it's all about live competition. Swimmers talk trash too. Where's news cover? And I think that really is where Lorena really was getting to with that tweet day. That's Lorena. Thank you for coming on tonight, because that's when I saw that, I'm like, I want that for this show, because that's part of the thing is, the missus used to work in media, and it was like, if it bleeds, it leads, is what the motto is. So,
Yeah.
hey, why not? We'll do this. We'll stir up a controversy, and that way, look, it's made it Twitter, it's made highlights. I think Keith Olbermann had to apologize for saying something about it.
Yeah, and
So,
Shaq called him out for it.
oh,
it
yeah,
was it was
yeah,
just it was just crazy. I do have to sign off, but
yes,
people just need to remember sports is competition,
yeah,
and people say stuff. Trash talk comes with it, but most people know that there's a certain, line that you don't cross. So
right,
Yeah, I
uh,
always. Sorry, I'll let you go. I just want to say this because you made me think of it. One of my favorite moments, I was saying, like, I love Cam Newton. There was a play, the linebacker was calling out the play. He said, "Hey, it's a wheel route." He says, "Yeah, I study too." And Cam Newton said, "Oh, you've been watching film, huh? That's cool. Watch this." And threw a touchdown pass right away. And they caught it all on mic. I'm like, "Oh, that's dirty right
oh,
there."
there you go. Well, hey, folks, go visit Lorena Creole on Lorena Creole on YouTube, and I will put that link out there after you're gone, Lorena.
okay,
But
thank
hey,
you.
thank you for breaking out a few minutes to come chat with us a little bit. And I appreciate it as always. And if y'all want a good laugh and stuff, Bowsette or one of my mods, if you're out there, can you put Lorena's YouTube link out there for me, please? And Lorena, You're welcome anytime. Thank you for working this in, and good luck with your other stream tonight. And thank you for your time.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for
You're
coming
very
by. Always good to see you.
welcome. Good to see you too, Woopah Troopah. I'm gonna have to drop in one time when I have some time. Maybe you'll do a show called Why Are Philly Sports Fans So Awful?
Well, Lorena,
Hey, I'll join you for that one. Huh?
wow. We could do that. We're coming up with new ideas. We're thinking about baseball, and we're doing XFL. So
We'll
if you're ever
we'll
doing an
have to
XFL and you want to come talk football, you're welcome.
we'll have to invite Courtney's Fellowship of Oddballs so she can defend herself. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, Philly. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
again. It's
Okay.
always great having you,
Bye,
Lorena.
everyone. Make sure you hit that like button. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. And that was the great Lorena Creole. Thank you for
That
dropping
was
by,
fun.
Lorena. Yes, a nice surprise. Nice little spirited debate. And hey, we love it. Hey, it's awesome out there. Thank you, everybody. I know Balzette had a lot to say too. And you're right, Balzette. It's really, people need to chill out. People complain about it, seem to not be able to handle the heat more than anyone. Yeah. Because if you look at the player, the Clark, she was kind of ignoring it, blowing it off. So it was pretty apparent she knew she was getting followed, and yeah, play the game or quit. Yep. So, all righty. So that was our little footstep into the WNBA, the women's Final Four, where LSU wins its first national title, taking out Iowa, who had upset South Carolina, who had been 36-0, undefeated till that point. So
yeah,
it was a big win there. So, all right, Woopah, let's get back to. Shall we talk about the NIT real quickly before we go into the final part of our show with tonight's game?
Yeah, we can get into it. I could give you a quick recap because we haven't talked about it much. It's very interesting tournament so far. Oh, I'm shaking my mic. My bad. But so the Final Four, whatever they call it for the NIT, it was we mentioned it was North Texas, Wisconsin, Utah Valley, and UAB. It was pretty interesting. I'll just go over the path for all of them real quick. I just got some quick stuff. North Texas, they beat Alcorn by a pretty sizable margin, whipped up on Sam Houston State, and then actually beat Oklahoma State in OT. It's interesting because they went to OT, but North Texas kind of blew them out in OT. Ended up winning by 6 in the end. Wisconsin, kind of the established team, you'd say. They beat Bradley by a whole lot, beat Liberty only by 4, and then beat Oregon by 3. So these were altogether a lot of close games there. Utah Valley, kind of the only unseeded team to make it. They whipped up on New Mexico, which was kind of a surprise. Also put a whooping on Colorado, and then won Cincinnati a little bit closer margin there. And
now, what I noted about that Cincinnati game, and this is the oddity of the NIT, the National Invitational Tournament, was that Utah Valley was not a seeded team. Cincinnati was, but Cincinnati went on the road to Utah Valley. What you will find in the NIT is sometimes, because it's so late after the normal season, a team may have scheduling conflicts with their arenas or other reasons why they can't play a game at home. So in that case, Cincinnati was the road team at Utah Valley, which probably went a long way to Utah Valley winning that game. But, it was still, when you see Utah Valley, and you would think a program like Cincinnati wouldn't lose a game like that on the road either, though.
Yeah, so this is a very big surprise for them to be there. Hey, I would say NIT, not that I don't like seeing some of the more seeded teams win, especially because all these seeds are a lot closer. You've got some, I guess you could say, fan favorites like Vanderbilt, Oklahoma State, kind of those teams that were just on the cusp and you were kind of hoping to see. But still, the last team was UAB. They beat Southern Miss by a ton. Beat Morehead State by a lot, and then even put a good amount up on Vanderbilt to make it here. So we'll get into the Final Four matchups. What I think is just so cool about this is so many of these were incredibly close. Both these matchups, North Texas beats Wisconsin by 2 points, and how it went down at the end was There was not a point. Well, let me see if I'm reading this right. Yeah, there was not a point in the final 2 minutes of the game. Tons of misses, multiple missed 3-pointers. Some guy getting 2 free throws and missing both of them, which is pretty rough. And in the end, are ending with a North Texas getting a steal in the final minutes to ensure that they win the game. So that's just pretty crazy that you got such a close game and they managed not to score for the last 2 minutes. And what's even crazier is actually, despite North Texas winning, they were down by 12 at the half. Wisconsin in the entire second half only scored 13 points in an entire half.
Wow.
Pretty rough right there.
That was a horrendous game to have to watch. And those few points.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a few of those. That's like, I wouldn't put that on my worst enemy.
But yeah, North Texas here, making it to the championship with a 2-point win, and then even crazier, Utah Valley and UAB. This goes to overtime. Ends up being another 2-point game. They go into OT. They're in the fouls. They're fouling out Jordan Walker. I don't know who that is, but it's funny because that's the name of a big basketball player. Not basketball, a baseball player for the Cardinals right now. But he makes gets the foul, makes 2 free throws. Utah turns around, gets a quick 3-pointer, and they foul real quick. And Jordan Walker just gets 1 free throw. There's only 2 seconds left, it looks like, and Utah Valley can't get a shot off, and UAB ends up winning by just 2 points there. So a lot of excitement. Utah Valley making it all the way to the OT of the semifinals for the NIT, setting up North Texas and UAB in the finals there.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game was a little bit less exciting. North Texas went out to a 10-point lead at the first half, and overall it was still a pretty good game, 68-61. But let me see. UAB did take the lead midway through the game. Actually, no, they had the lead up until 6 minutes, but then North Texas went on a bit of a run, hit a lot of their shots, and kind of pulled away from there. This game wasn't one that was far away. I was surprised that I should have looked at it beforehand, but I didn't know that UAB had a lead that late into the game. And it was always pretty much up until you got to fouling. UNT was very close. You're looking at like a 2-basket game for most of the last 4 minutes. But yeah, University of North Texas, a team that a lot of people thought could have been one of the last teams in and was on the radar, ends up winning the NIT.
See, that's interesting that's what had happened, because that does not always happen. Especially from a school of that size. Being able to go that far within the National Invitation Tournament is like a kind of a runner-up beauty queen for the rest of the people that did not make the field of 64, 68 now. So it's interesting when you see a team like North Texas, because there were teams like from larger conferences like Michigan, Florida, Vanderbilt. You had a number of SEC teams. You had some Big 12 teams. You had some Pac-12 teams. A lot of them coming in, but still no luck. No luck to get to the championship game. And it wasn't played. It wasn't played in New York either this year. It was somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I just had that up. Let me double check. I think New Orleans. That's where it was.
Okay.
But yeah, I think a lot of it is. I think it's an interesting tournament. They have all the regular season champs that don't make it, that don't win the conference, get automatic bids, and you've also got I think they give about 16 teams that they seed, and we'll fill out the rest. Excuse
Oh
me.
my gosh,
And,
I see the stadium that they played in. It looks like a high school gym. Well, I mean, it's probably bigger than a high school gym, but it's, the NIT has been around forever. I believe it may have been before the what we know as the NCAA nowadays. It was played in Madison Square Garden. This does not look like Madison Square Garden, but I'm sorry, I digress. Oh,
wait a second. This is in Las Vegas, actually, I think. And yeah, it does look a little small. It tricked me. It says it's called Orleans Arena, but it's in Vegas. I'm like, oh, well, I didn't expect that.
Some gambling. Hey, we got 8 people still with us. Thank you for hanging with us even longer, folks. Hey, and we're going through the NIT, like some things that we noted. We talked some women's basketball. We talked some NIT. And yeah, like Woopah's point here, your final game of UAB, North Texas, when you could have had Michigan, you could have had Florida, you could have had some bigger school, Vanderbilt, you could have had bigger conferences. But this is what I think we're seeing not only in the NIT, but it indicates a little bit of what we've seen in the NCAAs with the Final Four. Florida Atlantic, San Diego State have made the Final Four. Miami, even though their Atlantic Coast Conference is not a basketball school historically, they're advancing. They're moving up. We saw, Princeton made the Sweet 16 this year. And, not 15 seeds all do it, but these teams from smaller conferences are getting better, pulling off more upsets, and they're advancing farther in these tournaments now. Ultimate thing I think there'll be tonight, as we see, with if San Diego State wins the NCAAs, Woopah, because I tell you what, go back to our first show. You look at it. I trashed San Diego State. I think they thought
we both picked them to lose in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. It's like didn't know respect for them. The West Coast, the WAC. They're just. I don't know.
They're Mountain West.
Mountain West. Well, still they're out west. Who cares about them? They're not the Big 12, the Big 10, the Pac-12, the ACC. And you write them off. But that's what I think. To back to our discussion, how some of the talking heads think that this tournament is not good for college basketball. I take the opposite. I think it's great for college basketball because these teams now actually have a legitimate chance to win something that means something.
Yeah, I think that I think what they're thinking of is maybe fans, because you're gonna, a Duke UNC is gonna get a lot more rabid fan attention than a San Diego State UConn or San Diego State FAU. But I think what you're looking at, look at the casual viewer. They're going to want to, they're not going to want to see the 5th straight Duke title or Kansas or anything like that. They want to see the teams, not necessarily that are lower ranked, but always the teams that you don't see around. Like Baylor getting in was pretty cool at the time. When Wichita State was undefeated, that was huge. Everyone was talking about Wichita State. And they want to see those Cinderella teams. They want to see FAU. They want to see maybe a Miami sneak by some better opponents. I think that's what people want to see. I know NIT doesn't get as much attention. Even us talking about it real quick, we didn't cover it a ton. But it's interesting to see. Oh, hey, here's this little school. They were one of the first teams left off, and look how they're doing. Or hey, look, looking at the regular season. Hey, Utah State. They're not from a power team. They weren't even considered. They only got an automatic bid in the NIT, and here they are, very close to going to the finals, but just didn't have it happen. I think that's really cool. That's something that you like. Obviously, yeah, NIT doesn't get as much support, but you're looking, for what it is, you're trying to get those smaller conferences. Hey, here's a second chance for you. You're getting those guys who are just out. You're getting the schools there to say, hey, look, we're going to give you a shot to play. I think altogether it's very good. I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people tuned in and we're talking about that San Diego State FAU game because they're like, well, what's going to happen? A lot of these matchups. We haven't gotten to it yet, but I think a lot of us will say, we already say, well, we think we know what's going to happen in this game. But when you get a game like, some of these lower seeds, you don't know who's going to win. Even look at San Diego's previous games, Creighton and San Diego. That was a close one. People saying, well, I don't know who's going to win. I know you can guess, but you don't know. I think that's better for the casual fan. Yeah, maybe you don't have the big crowds that, a Kansas would bring in, but you're going to have a lot more casual and, casual interest of, hey, I don't know how this game's going to go. I want to tune in on TV and see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There's a reason, historically speaking, maybe not as much right now. Maybe not as much right now, just because we've seen it happen now. But historically, not a lot of people tune in for those 1 seed, 16 seed games, because you go into it thinking, well, this team's going to win. Not the case anymore. But
no, we had a second one this year.
Yeah.
And Fairleigh Dickinson actually made a good show of itself in the second round.
Yeah, so it's not always the case, but you when you see these big gaps, usually you don't see a lot of viewers unless it gets interesting in the second half.
Yeah,
because people just say, "Well, I know what happened in this game." When you get games like this, where it's like 5th seed versus 9th seed, no one expected any of these teams to be here. You don't know what's going to happen. I think that's better for the overall TV audience. I think they think too much about the market and not enough about worldwide. You're here covering the national tournament. Your team didn't even make it. Baylor lost in the first round, and I'm still here talking about it and checking it up. It's not just about who makes it in. We're all fans of the sport overall and the storylines and the madness that March Madness for a reason. So I think for that purpose, it's very good for the basketball.
Absolutely. Well, hey, shall we start to go into the final home stretch and preview the game tonight? What we think is going to happen?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Well, let's go. We got 7 y'all still with us. Make sure you hit that like button and follow us on Twitch and sub on the YouTube side. So, hey, all right. Which now we got, bring it up, back up. All right. Go ahead and introduce us to your stats, Woopah.
Yeah. So this is similar to what we did with the Final Four. I did figure out this is just regular season stats for the two teams, doesn't include the tournament. But yeah, you're looking at San Diego State versus Connecticut, both teams that have a pretty good defense, both similar points allowed, similar steals and blocks. They're all very similar in shooting. Connecticut does seem to be a little better, but the thing that stands out to me is, first of all, the rebounding. 3 points is, 3 rebounds per game is not a ton, but it is noticeable. And you look at the points for Connecticut's, despite the shooting averages being pretty close, Connecticut must be getting a lot more shots up because they're averaging 7 more points per game than San Diego, despite having pretty similar defenses. Connecticut allowing about 1.5 points per game, but scoring 7 more. It's a big difference there.
Yeah, I mean, even when you're 2 to 4 points off between some of these, they're still pretty even. I mean, even those 3 rebounds, that's still pretty even. The free throw shooting is still pretty even. I mean, really, where it goes is it looks like Connecticut gives up slightly a few more points, but scores more proportionally than what San Diego State does. What I'm looking at, so I think they're pretty similar in terms of style and output, I guess, except the one thing that I've noticed, and if you can see it in the scores in the tournament so far with San Diego State, averaging 72 points on the season. They scored 63, 75, 71, 57, 72. So they really, of course, the Creighton was way low at 57, but they seem to struggle in the tournament to hit their seasonal average of 72 points a game. So you've that. I think that's something to look for there. Whereas UConn, most games they've been over, averaging 79 points a game. 87. They score 70, 88, 82, and a bit under average against Miami at 72. So, you compare this tournament performance to the seasonal averages. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, yeah, they've had a multiple. Yeah, they've scored 80 more than they don't so far. They don't always hit their average, but I think something that's important is they've been pretty consistently around their points allowed. So even when they're scoring less, they're still not allowing much.
63, 55, 65, 54, 59, and they're averaging giving up 59. So that would be Miami, Gonzaga, St. Mary's. Iona's close to 59. That's 4 points. I mean, so yeah, good point with that.
And you get San Diego. Now, most of them are close to the points allowed. Like Charleston is, Charleston and Creighton are both like a little bit below, 1 point below. And you got Furman, which is below. But then you got Alabama, which is higher, and Florida Atlantic, which is much higher. Not concerning if you're hitting your points for averages, but really, they're not. That Charleston game, they were well below, Creighton well below, like you said. Alabama and Florida Atlantic pretty much at that points for, but both above in points allowed. So I think they're kind of maybe I'd say they're playing their pace. A lot of these games are low scoring games, and that seems to be what San Diego State thrives on, this lower pace, more defensive oriented. But but they're not really playing the toughest defense that got him there. You're letting up a lot more points than you are. If you got to play your pace, you've also got to execute. Connecticut does seem to be doing very good on defense. They are not. They aren't 100% on the same level. They are allowing more points allowed, but they're also, the games where they allowed more points allowed, I think you're looking at just game script, because Miami, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga are all at or below their points allowed. And all those were still, I guess, closer wins. Well, Gonzaga was still absolute domination, but Miami and St. Mary's, where they scored less, they still kept them under. You're looking at Iona and Arkansas. Sure, they allowed more points than average, but they also were dropping 80 on them. They were leading the whole time. You're probably just looking at, hey, this is a team that's late in the second up by 20. They're probably putting in some backups, keeping people fresh.
And that's one thing is those routes, those games that get away early, the final scores can be deceiving depending on various factors, bench play, all that other stuff. But see, like in Miami, that was a 13-point win, but UConn was ahead at 13.5. So, it's, it was not a hard win. They won fairly easily. And you look at UConn, they beat the 5 and 8, a 3 and a 5, So, whereas San Diego State beats a 12, 13, 1, 6, 9, by closer margins. So it's,
Yeah. I think that's something to look for too, is you're looking at, that's why I put these games here. You're looking at San Diego State, which had only one double-digit victory against 13 seed Furman. Looking at Connecticut, who every single victory they've had so far is a double-digit victory.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll tell you, let me say, good luck, Bowsette. What a horrible night if you want to watch basketball. You have problems with pizza delivery. That would suck.
Not the pizza.
Not the pizza. Gotta have the pizza. But, last week when I looked at Miami versus UConn, Miami had played like 4 of the top 5 seeds in their bracket, in their region, and they won some tough games, small margins and stuff, going against UConn, who looked like they had a fairly easy schedule up, playing through, but pulling everybody out. Well, we see what happened. UConn still winning, and you think that maybe those tough games helped Miami. Well, didn't really. I mean, UConn won again going away, pretty much. So you got to be careful how you rely on margins and trends and stuff like that too. At the end of the day, it's going to come up to the matchups, how they execute.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, So we got a fairly even matchup. One scores more than the other. They're fairly even on defense. So, all right. So that's with our game by game breakdown where they stand, seasonal statistics, and how they've gotten here to the championship game. So, and we got about tip off at about 30 minutes. So,
well, better hurry.
Yeah, I know. Hey, we thought we were going to barely go an hour.
Yeah,
Hey,
there we go.
Yeah. See, what I like with this
Oh
graphic.
shoot! I just realized I wanted to ask Lorena who she had for this game, but I forgot.
Let me see if I can message. But go ahead and break this down here.
Oh, that's fine. I was just thinking. I was like, oh, I was going to ask her, but I forgot. We had too much good conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
For this game, I wanted to break down kind of the starters that they have, just to go a little bit more in depth since it is just one game we're covering. San Diego State. You look at this. It's kind of San Diego State has a much more veteran lineup. 4 seniors and 1 junior. Connecticut has 1 senior, 2 juniors, a sophomore, and a freshman. Both do use more of a 3 guard, 2 forward, kind of more traditional. But you're looking at San Diego State has 2 players. No, they only have 1 player. Sorry, averaging over double-digit points per game. They do have one guy who's pretty close, but I think that's where you get it. Connecticut, meanwhile, 2 guys over 15 points per game, Jordan Hawkins and Adama Sanogo. So this, you can clearly see Connecticut's got the higher, more star power, I think.
Well, one other point, Woopah, with that is, and they had 2 guys that are essentially double digits a game, that Tristan Newton at 9.9 and Alex Caravan at 9.5 per game. I mean, they're essentially double-figure players right there. They're just almost there.
Mm-hmm. No, and I think
whereas San Diego State, like you said, they have one at 9.9, but you look 8.7, 7.6, 6.1. The other starters are not even close to double figures, which can come down to a big thing in this game. We see that San Diego State averages less offensively than Connecticut. So what will give out in this matchup?
One thing that I think is going to be important, especially because both these teams pretty good at rebounds, and I think this could matter in the end, is size. Now, San Diego State does have the tallest guy, Nathan Mensah, 6'10", but you also have, Connecticut, everyone's big. They play different games; they're not all the same. But you've got Sanogo 6'9", Alex Caravan, the freshman, 6'8", Tristan Newton 6'5", Jordan Hawkins 6'5", Andre Jackson Jr. 6'6". San Diego State does have, they're not small by any means, but 6'10", 6'7", 6'5" for their kind of centers, power forward, small forward. And you've got Lamont Butler at 6'2" and Darian Trammell at 5'10". So it gets a lot smaller as you go down, where Connecticut, everyone's above 6'5", in that 6'5" to 6'9" range. So you're going to have a lot of tall guys, and I think that's going to matter a lot in rebounds. You can look at it. San Diego State has 2 guys in 5 rebounds a game, no one over 6, and 2 guys below 3 rebounds a game. Connecticut's lowest rebounder, Jordan Hawkins at 3.8, would be 3rd on San Diego, and they have 2 guys. Andre Jackson kind of seems to be the point guard. They kind of switch him around, him and Newton around, at 6.4 rebounds a game, while Adama Sanogo has the 7.5 rebounds a game. This is a team, I think when you're looking at the size, especially, point guard to point guard, even, I don't know if Andre Jackson's going to be the point guard. They kind of have, committee there, but either way, if it's Andre Jackson or Tristan Newton, they're going to have a whole leg up on Darian Trammell. That's going to, if that's what it's coming down to, you're probably going to see UConn getting the rebounds there. And even Adama Sanogo may be a little smaller than Nathan Mensah, but he's got more rebounds and more. He's still only 1 inch smaller and 15 pounds bigger. That's going to matter. Yeah.
Well, and that's what I said. Height does not always mean a lot. It can, you may be taller, but are you as active as the other? Can you out hustle the other? Yeah. So just because somebody has a 1 or 2 inch advantage does not mean, because that's the first thing I see. You got a 6'10" guy that can only get 6 rebounds a game. You got a 6'9" guy going at 7.5, and even a 6'6" guy that's got almost 7 rebounds a game. For a guard for UConn, it's getting 6 rebounds a game, which is more than a big man for San Diego State. So, but also another part of it here that you're talking about is, look, like you said, the experience of San Diego State, 4 seniors. This experience went out. I mean, there's a lot of questions about this game tonight. Is it size? Is it athleticism? Is it scoring ability? Is it even something like experience? They made this the first time on this big stage, but that's one thing a lot of people also like to point out is, when teams like San Diego State get here for the first time, that they've never been here, blah blah blah. But you know what? Sometimes I think it's okay for teams that have not been there. I think that's one of the things that's overrated. They may not have been on this tournament stage, but they played big games before. You got obviously a crew of guys that have played a lot of basketball together. So it may not be playing national championship matches, but they played a lot of basketball. So they have a lot of experience. So the question is what wins. So we'll find out.
That's true. For me, I'll responding to that. I think UConn is a younger team, but I think they still got the seniors and the juniors. I don't think, well, like you said, they've still played in big games, but also, they're not devoid. It's not like FAU where that was a big question of, hey, San Diego State is all seniors and juniors, and FAU is pretty much all freshmen and sophomores. This is a good, healthy mix. There's a senior, junior, sophomore, freshman all around.
Mm-hmm.
So they still have that veteran leadership that they can lean on.
Yeah.
To me, if you ask me who the X factor is, and so probably tip who I'm predicting is Adama Sanogo. He's out of all these people, he has the most points. He has the most rebounds. He's not the most in blocks. Nathan Mensah is very good at defense, but he is second in blocks with 0.8. And with steals, 0.7, not anything impressive, but still good enough to hang. I think you're looking at a guy, he's going to be the presence on the court. I don't know if San Diego State can stop him. They do have, Nathan Mensah, 1.7 blocks per game, way ahead of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he can hold up. But even if he's good at blocks, he's Sanogo is definitely better on the boards. I think it's going to matter a lot. We'll see.
All right, absolutely. Well, there's the tail of the tape between them. It's almost like prize fighters matching up by position with the starters, averages, and where we go. So, all right, that's the two preview with the two teams together.
Yeah. So, ready to get into predictions, you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely, right. Folks. So, folks, if you're out in the chat and want to guess with us, who do you think will win tonight between San Diego State, Aztecs, or the UConn Huskies? It all comes down to this game tonight.
I added in score just to make it a little bit more interesting than just
agreed.
A straight winner. So,
exactly.
Dadman, who did you have in this game?
I had UConn.
All right.
I should have made it more dramatic than that, but basically, there's a lot of reasons you could take San Diego State. I remember when the Gators in 2006 or 5 or whenever the first of their back-to-back championships, everybody said they didn't have experience and blah, blah, blah. That didn't matter. They still were the best team in the country, and it showed out when they played who they had to play in the tournament. And, yes, San Diego State has very athletic. They've grinded out some wins against some good seeded teams, but they just seem that they've hit their peak on the offensive side. And even then, their offensive side has been, the bar is pretty low, and they're struggling to reach it. UConn, last week I went with Miami because they played all these harder teams. Well, UConn didn't care, handled them pretty easy. So I look for that now. There's a lot of reasons to take San Diego State, but I think with the trends, with the upside of San Diego State having been hit on the offensive side, barring a complete meltdown by UConn, I think UConn should win this game fairly comfortably. Let's see real quick. Let's quick. Yes, exactly. Hold on a second. Bowsette, thank you for looking out for me. Great mind there. Disclaimer, it's not a guide to which team you should place your bets on. Thank you. That is very important because that's true. We are not a gambling site. I forgot. I need to get a slide on these things sometimes because we are not a gambling site. And as you see from our prediction records, you probably don't want to use us, even if we did contend that we are. But thank you, Bowsette, for that. Exactly. This is just friends picking among friends just for the hell of it. And Lisa said San Diego State. All right.
Oh, wow.
And then historical, Lisa's saying historical for UConn for sure, but basing it on the senior starters. So Lisa's going with the experience there. And Brian Hepburn, hey, Brian, you're still here. Hey, on paper, Connecticut should start fast, pull away throughout the game. I'll take San Diego because I like the under.
Oh, there we go. That's two votes for San Diego.
Yeah, so he's going on the line, which, like, again, folks, we don't do that here. Woopah and I are just picking straight up winners, but hey. But Brian, a lot of logic there. That's the way I kind of see the game. Is like the rest of the tournament is that like of Miami, UConn gets out, moves ahead quickly, and puts it out. But like Brian says, you still have to play the game. Absolutely. And let me say hello to the great lurker mod out there, Jess. Hey, SBD girl.
Hey, Jess.
Good to see you there. Putting out the Twitter link. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here for that. So we got some San Diego States. We got some UConn. Are you going to show my score, or are you going to take your pick first?
Oh, I was taking my pick first.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
I think I kind of hinted at it last slide, but I'm taking UConn as well. UConn is the only team that I picked to go to the Final Four that actually made it. So maybe I'm just sticking them with them for that, but I really like them as a team. I think you can look at it. Maybe you're saying, well, team of destiny. Either one, I think you can argue with. San Diego State, there's been multiple times where you think, oh, they're about to lose, and they still haven't. They've always come out. So maybe you're saying, well, they're just going to keep coming out with the wins. But I think you'll go the other way, team of destiny. UConn has had 5 easy wins to get here. They've kicked everyone's butt that they've played. Maybe not the best competition, but still some good seeds in there. And at the end of the day, you beat who you play. You can only play who shows up. But B, you're talking about maybe lesser competition based on seeding. If you're talking about that, well, that would count for San Diego State as well as being lesser competition. Obviously, they made it here. No disrespect to them. I'm just saying if you're going with the same logic of, well, they only beat number 3 Gonzaga. Well, that would, if you're using that logic for Gonzaga, then you'd have to use that logic for San Diego State as well.
Absolutely. So, all right. So we both take UConn. Like I said, you still have to play the game. Well, Brian said you still have to play the game, but this is the way I see it. Like Brian had said, is that they've shown a propensity to start fast and run away, and it may be closer in the second half, but I think an early start, kind of like the Miami game, it may be over at halftime. So, which doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, this is where the talk about the matchups and people could come in. Is you really want good matchups, in these type of games, and it's hard to. These type of matchups tend to be either one of two ways. Let me say hello to Wade. Hey, Wade. Wade takes San Diego. Hey, Wade, welcome here.
The chat is unanimous on San Diego, while we're going UConn over here.
I know. Well, that's cool. Maybe the chat will get it right. That's awesome. But honestly, I see this game going one of two ways, and I probably should have said this first also, is that this is one scenario I see. UConn winning, getting out early, running it away. If San Diego State wins this game, it's going to be, I think, a low scoring. It's going to be an ugly game. You're going to have bad free throw shooting on both teams. I think you're going to have a weak offensive performance by both of them. and I think San Diego State has got to play a dirty, crappy game that will not interest people, which I think gets to the point of why some people don't want all these lower seeds in a tournament like this, because for some of them to win, the basketball has to look bad. They can't run and track shooting. Hey, like Jeff said, I have no clue, but that's okay. You're here, though. Yes. Brian throws in a shot at Gonzaga.
That's true.
Absolutely. So, but it's one of the two ways I see it, and obviously I'm saying with the former, not the latter. So, but if San Diego State wins, it may not be one of the best games to watch. But hey, I do think it would be a Cinderella story. I know we have a 4 and a 5, so some may not see a Cinderella. But honestly, for the way we dissed, and I don't think we were the only ones that had no respect for San Diego State. Nobody saw them legitimately coming this far. And hey, so I would think that there's somewhat of a Cinderella. But hey, all right. So the score, how do we see this going? Yeah, I think we looked at this kind of similar, Woopah, in terms of margins. I've got an 18-point win, a 74-56 game. Like I said, I see it being kind of ugly. A first half lead that can't be overcome or even really caught up to. So I got an 18-point game, 74-56. Woopah, what about you? And Woopah's got it at 82-65. He's got UConn scoring up over its average in the 80s, with San Diego State a little bit above average, but still below average. But it's interesting. We did not compare notes on this. I had an 18-point win for UConn. Woopah has a 17-point win for UConn. I think it's pretty fascinating considering. Hey, and we still got 9 people here watching. Thank you, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. We did get one more sub tonight, so we're at 192. So thank you, everybody.
Hey, I'm sorry. I realized I think I've been muted this whole time.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was your internet. I kept seeing your score put up, but hopefully I got the analysis. But go ahead, Woopah. Talk about your pick.
Yeah, no, I was saying, first of all, yeah, I usually try to, since I'm setting up the slideshow, I usually try to get my picks in, so I can't be influenced. I can't look at Dadman's picks and be like, oh, that was good one. Maybe I'll change it to mine.
Mm-hmm.
So it is cool that we picked such similar stuff. But to me, I was thinking something in my brain just told me, UConn's putting 80 up on them. I think in the end, to me, it's just you're going to have a big shooting guard in Jordan Hawkins, who's been pretty dominant. I don't think people are going to be able to stop him from putting up points. I don't think they have a guy who can guard him. And the same Adama Sanogo, he will be going up against a guy who has 1.7 blocks per game, so he's pretty good. But I think he's going to have the advantage on the boards, and I think in the end, maybe he'll get an extra shot blocked or two. But I think it's going to be hard to stop him. I think he's going to be able to put up a lot of points, and those two guys, I just don't think there's an answer for.
Yep, I see it very similar. So I think Brian hit. Let's see real quick. Oh, Lisa, thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Oh, Lisa, hey, thanks for coming, hanging out. And Lisa, I saw your picture on YouTube about this T-bone steak tonight. Oh my gosh, wow. Hash brown casserole. Wow. Great meal, Lisa. Definitely looks good. But thanks for being here.
Sounds tasty.
I think Brian hits the nail on the head with it. And we're about 10 minutes away from tip-off, so we'll be winding up really soon. But I think Brian hits the nail on the head again right here. I see it this way. A lot of call stoppages favor San Diego. That means more fouls. UConn could maybe get in foul trouble. It slows the game down. Maybe make it more herky-jerky, more of an ugly game. If they let the play flow, UConn will probably go ahead early and keep a comfortable buffer. And we can see it because UConn scores more, and they've shown the propensity to jump out on their opponents early. So very good analysis right there, Brian. Very good. So, all right. And there you have it. The concluding predictions of our NCAA tournament this year.
Yep.
Yay!
So, yeah, I think it's pretty good. I do think it would kind of be ugly. I think at this point, I think when I think of UConn, I'm thinking like I did with my Baylor Bears in 2021. Our worst win was by 9 in the tournament. We kicked everyone's butts. It seems like UConn's going on the same path right now.
Yep, it looks like that way. Let's see.
I
I
think
sent something over to you. Yeah. So hey, well, we got 6 people left, so we are going to go ahead and. You got any more slides, Woopah? Or are we done on the slides?
Oh, that's the last slide. That's the last slide I have.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here tonight. I'm going to take a second and thank everybody. I'm going to bring some things up real quick. I got to make some channel announcements, folks. Thank you. Bowser says, good night, everyone. I have to go mod on the channel. I'm getting ready about my food. I don't blame you. I would too. That stinks. So, but listen, we've been here over 2 hours. Thank you, everybody, being here. We will, but let me make a couple announcements before everybody runs off real quick. I'm going to try to hopefully not boomer it like I did the last time, but yeah, a couple things coming up. Tomorrow night, maybe a game stream. I don't know. I've got to figure it out as to what I'm going to do and talk to the person that I want involved with it. If not Tuesday night, maybe Friday night, we'll see what happens. But listen, on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Alaska time, I'm going to have a new guest on. Somebody that I've just met recently. I've gone over to his channel on YouTube, on Twitch, has a channel also on the YouTube side. Alaska Jeff. You can find him out on Twitter also. We're going to talk a little bit about the great state of Alaska, and he's going to show you some stuff about it. We're going to have a conversation. Maybe even talk some Fortnite stuff. Have some Fortnite fun talking. So hopefully you can join us Wednesday night for this, what I'm looking forward to be a great conversation. We got polar bears and wolves in his picture. So hey,
Snortopupus will be excited.
I know, and Liam Greywolf would be excited too. And yes, and Jess, thank you. You can find him on Twitch also. Last Command Jeff. So this should be a very fun conversation on Wednesday night. So hope you can join us. And then of course on Thursday night. We are moving it to Thursday night this week instead of Friday night for XFL football. We may talk a little bit about tonight's game since there may not be much to talk about to just wrap up the NCAA season on this show. But hey, come join us for another week of pro-ish football talk with Dadman and Woopah Troopah, and we'll see what kind of cool things. And maybe Woopah will go on another rampage about bad quarterback play. So
no, I do have a rampage already ready. I'll just let you know there. But I won't tell you about what, but I have something ready.
All right. Well, come watch Woopah on his rampage. They're fun. And here, as always, find our streams on videos. I do need to clean up the YouTube page a bit, so please bear with me. But hey, find me on live and the videos over on youtube.com and twitch.tv at dadmanwalking55 on both. Also, the Twitter is where to find when I go live and other announcements. But make sure you hit the bell on the YouTube side and turn on your notifications on Twitch and YouTube for when we do go live. But follow me on Twitter at dadmanwalking55, and you never know, you might see some good food pictures. So, all right. Well, with that said, thank you everybody that's been here. Thank you everybody that's come through for giving us 2 hours on another wonderful show. I thank you all, and let me say, Woopah, this has been a pleasure to do some basketball with you. And who knows what the future holds on other things.
I'm gonna say, let's do it again next year.
All right. And maybe maybe we start earlier. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we can start a little earlier this time.
Yeah. All right, folks. Woopah, thanks again. Everybody else, y'all have a good night. Tip off is in about 10 minutes. And we'll see what happens and put another bow on another season. But thank you, everybody, for staying with us, and have a good night. Bye.
Bye.